Man, I hate Tennessee because first of all, it's Tennessee, and I just hate them because they low down, they dirty, they some snitches, and I hate Philip Farmer. I hate their colors. I'm not a dog person. I just hate Tennessee, man. Like, and I hate Neyland Stadium. It looks like a garbage truck worker convention, and I hate all their quarterbacks. I hate Tennessee, man.
Describe what you feel about their colors too. I thought that was interesting.
It reminds me, and it's not that orange that you can stand. See, I hate Tennessee more than I hate Auburn. I just dislike Auburn. I hate Tennessee. See, Tennessee's colors is that throw up orange. It's not that orange that you can sit with. It's that puke inside of a pumpkin orange. And I don't like pumpkins. So I really don't like Tennessee, man. I can't stress that enough, man. And they losers, they sore losers because they're not Alabama, and I hate Tennessee, man.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, guess what week it is? Normally I'm opening on, well, guess what today is, but guess what week this is? Tennessee Hate Week, man. Boy, we got a whole lot of stuff to talk about. Whoever thought that we'd be talking about Tennessee the way we're going to be talking about them tonight? But yes, of course, it is Teague's Take Tuesday. Thank you guys for being part of the show. As always, if you're in, listen to us live on Facebook or YouTube. Get in the chat, ask the questions, give us our likes, all the things that you want to do, because we love the interaction. We really, really do appreciate all the fan interaction. Yeah, we got a lot of different things to talk about, so we're going to try to get it all in an hour. We're going to try. We're going to talk about Tennessee. We're going to talk about Mr. Ed, LSU. You got to talk about the Cowboys. Man, we got some former players. Got Bama, man. What's up with these people tweeting that they want to quit from Bama and all this stuff, man? There's so much. So we're going to try to condense it, and we'll try to get through. So just thank you guys for coming in and listening to the show tonight. But first, let me go ahead and get to my run out. And as I said, I want to go ahead and get into this Tennessee stuff, right? So watching this game, and I got to tell you guys, I was hot, man, watching Tennessee play Ole Miss. At the end, I was entertained by the game, and for about 18 minutes, it got out of hand. There were some Tennessee fans, I know we can't lump them all together, but they were throwing things, projectiles, on the field at a displeasure of them not liking calls or losing the game, or I don't know what it was. It didn't matter, right? They were acting up. Now, the good thing is the UT athletic director, Danny White, he did say that, hey, it was unacceptable. He apologized to the Ole Miss AD, Keith Carter, following the game, and they did get fined, right? But let me tell you guys something. Let me dive into this a little bit more. So when I was playing back in 1999, the Eagles fans, oh, man, how I hated them too, right? And I didn't have disdain for them at first. You play against teams and you kind of hear about fans, but you don't really know. But in 1989, this is the reason why I stopped liking Eagles fans. Michael Irvin got hurt very seriously in the game. We were playing up there, and their fans actually started cheering when he got hurt. Unacceptable, right? These guys are out there putting their body in harm's way and all this kind of stuff, and they went to cheering about it. 2004, a Piston fan throws a drink at Ron Artest. Y'all remember that? Walking past. He jumps into the stands, wants to go fight this fan. And, man, we're talking about player safety, right? This year, at some high school games, multiple games that I've been to, students and parents, opposing teams are actually targeting players with their words. They're targeting the coaches with what they're saying. I just think this is getting out of hand, right? People are feeling really comfortable about these things and don't really understand what fan behavior is or should be. So we got a small clip here. For those of y'all might not have watched the Tennessee game and didn't really actually see what happened. It was getting bad, right? They were throwing water bottles out there. I saw beer cans flying around. You're about to see Kiffin escape getting hit by a golf ball that someone threw out there. And I hear everyone talking about, man, why do you have the golf ball in there? It doesn't. I'm not as much worried about that. I just don't know if people really realize what could have happened. I don't know how high up that golf ball came from, but if it would have hit any player in the head without a helmet on or coach, that could have been a serious injury to someone. Those water bottles, when they're full, if you hit somebody over the dome with one of those things from, I don't know how, Leland Stadium, is it still called Leland Stadium or whatever? If it came from way up there somewhere and it hit somebody in the head, bro, these are like serious injuries that could happen. Beer bottles, beer cans, so my stance, the reason why I was so mad, yes, I was mad at the fans, right? And now I kid a lot about the Tennessee Hate Week. And it was really more so because of the rivalry and not because of the fans. But now I'm kind of becoming I ain't sure about these Tennessee fans, kind of the way I was with the Eagle fans, right? Because they put players and coaches in harm's way. And that can't happen. That can't happen. That's how fights start. That's how people start running in the stands. That's how players start retaliating and doing things that then all of a sudden the players get out of character, right? The bands left the field. Cheerleaders were leaving the field. That's how you know this was way past the limit, right? So my wish to all of you is, man, don't get involved in this. Well, don't do stuff like that. We can be upset with this officials. We're going to fuss at them and all that stuff. But when you start taking out the aggression on the wrong people, it makes for a bad atmosphere. So I can actually say that I know somebody who was at the game, and I kind of want to get his reaction to that. So joining me and JT today is a Tennessee volunteer fan. His name is Ed. He's a former Knoxville resident, and he just loves everything about the Big Orange. Man, it's kind of even hard for me to say that. He grew up with some time working at the University of Tennessee. I guess he calls himself a super fan. He was bold enough to come on the show with his Tennessee gear on. So I want to welcome both JT and Mr. Ed. I'm going to call him Mr. Ed, the famous Mr. Ed. I ain't talking about the horse. I'm talking about Ed. It's great to have him on because he does have a podcast that he and JT that you hear us talking about all the time, PSG Talk, to be able to come on and talk to us about that. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about this first, right? So can you tell me, and I know JT's going to ask you some things, but can you tell me, what was really going through? What did you see at the game while you were there once you started having it? What kind of reaction were you having?
Yeah. Absolutely. So to really talk about what happened, you got to talk about that week leading up to it. You had the checker kneeling. So you saw that on TV, the checkerboard of the whole stadium. On local Knoxville sports radio, you had people calling in saying the atmosphere needs to be borderline dangerous. That like this was not a game to bring your girlfriend or your wife to, your children. Like this needed to be, and even Coach Heupel said he wants the fans to create a hostile atmosphere. So the stage was set. And I knew that there was going to be a problem when I saw a grown woman fall on her face drunk 5 hours before kickoff. I said, this is going to be bad. Getting into the stadium, security, there was too many people. They could not adequately check everyone. So you wanted to get a golf ball in, you could have gotten a bowling ball in. They probably wouldn't have caught you. Security had to break up fights between Ole Miss fans and Tennessee fans in line to get into the stadium. I remember texting my friend. I said, this place is a viper pit. This place is a powder keg ready to go off. And the officials and their multiple errors lit that powder keg. And we saw what happened at the end of the game with fans throwing things. I was in the south end zone, not near the student section. So it was mostly just regular fans like me. And a couple feet next to me, I had a beer can land, and the smack against the bleacher stand was so loud. And I thought, if that would have hit me in the head, it would have gashed my head wide open. I mean, they were chucking things from the upper deck. Students, I'm sure as well, but from where I was sitting, people were definitely throwing things, and they weren't making it to the field. And so it was a dangerous situation. You never want to throw things, like you said. And I think your comparison to Philadelphia Eagles fans, I think, is apropos. Both fan bases, before the Eagles won their championship a couple years ago, are just hungry for a winner. And you probably won't find a more passionate fan base. And we thought this was our night, that we finally turned the corner, and many would argue the officials took it away from us. And the fans had their say, and it was a wrong say. They shouldn't have done that. I 100% agree with you. I didn't throw any things. I saw many people around me throwing things. I saw a fight among Tennessee fans break out in front of me because someone threw something and it didn't make it on the field and hit somebody. And then that guy ran up the stands and they started fighting. There's a picture. I don't know if JT wants to show that, with the guy being let out in handcuffs that was right in front of me. And so, yeah, it was students. It was regular fans who aren't students. It was a lot of people throwing things. I feel bad for the cheerleaders, the band. It was ugly, and it took away from what was a fantastic night. We were competitive against the number 13 team in the country. We held Lane Kiffin to one touchdown in the second half with a defense razor thin at every position. And for all case and purposes, we should have won that game. We had a chance to win, and I know we'll talk about Joe Milton at the end. But all the stuff with the fans, that's what we're leading this show off with, is talking about that, not what happened on the field.
All right.
Yeah, no.
I appreciate that. Go ahead, JT.
I was gonna say, it's unfortunate, as you said, that you had that kind of incident that happened in the game or during the game, because it was a very entertaining game. I mean, even just as somebody who is not a fan of Tennessee nor Ole Miss, but I mean, you knew the game was going to be hyped. You had from the very beginning, again, Ole Miss going for it on fourth downs, converting some of them, getting held at the beginning, and then I'm watching the game, I'm thinking, oh boy, here it goes again. They're going to go for it on fourth down, just like they were against Alabama. They're going to get stopped, and then it might just all fall off the tracks, and then Tennessee muffs a punt and gives it back to them right down there at the end, and the game itself was exciting all the way around, and it's a shame that it had to be marred with that, because now that's what people are talking about, rather than, like you said, the fact that Tennessee's been down for so long. They finally they get a team at Neyland that is a very good football team, and you look competitive, you have a chance to win. And then of course the jokes that are making this way around, where the announcer's saying, please don't throw things on the field. And then you have 3 seconds left, and your backup quarterback decides he's not going to throw things on the field either, and he's going to run out of bounds to end the game.
He didn't want to mess up his stats. He didn't want an interception on his record.
So the first thing I want to ask you about the game is that last play where Hendon Hooker has to leave the game. You got Joe Milton in. You're down by 5. You have to have a touchdown. And from there, a play was run. I can't remember if it was a completed pass or not, but they end up spiking the ball. There's 3 seconds left, and I'm watching him run and just look for somebody open, and he starts to take off, and he looks mighty confused and just walks out of bounds. So first, give me what was going through your head as you're watching this unfold live, and then tell me kind of what is the collective thought in the stands when you see him just not even attempt to throw some kind of Hail Mary, whatever, just looking. He was clear. He looked up at the clock, saw that he had no time left, and looked and was like, oh, I'm standing on the sideline.
Yeah, absolutely. So for that play, keep in mind, this is after everyone threw everything. A lot of people were arrested. A lot of people decided to leave. And so what happened was a lot of the fans filled in that lower bowl. And the fans that were left were just as loud as when the stadium was full. So people were into this. And we thought, oh my goodness, after all of this, after everything with the refs, all of the injuries on Ole Miss, after all of this drama, we might actually pull this off. This is the most Tennessee thing ever. And then Joe Milton just let us all down. It was like such a letdown. You could just feel the collective breath of the stadium just go, oh, like really? And it's just what we've come to expect from Joe Milton. We lost against Pittsburgh earlier this year. We should have won that game, but we had Joe Milton starting, and he overthrew several wide receivers, and that should have been touchdowns. And it's just sort of like he is physically, he looks incredible. He could throw the ball 90 yards in the air if he wanted to. Like, unbelievable physically. But I don't know what was going through his head. I can't imagine Josh Heupel, who was a quarterback himself, wouldn't have told him, you got to get this ball in the end zone. Don't run. Don't go past the line of scrimmage. I'm sure he was coached up and told what to do. And maybe just the moment coming in cold, unexpected, because Hendon Hooker had just gone down with what looked like a pretty serious leg injury. And he just came in and completely bungled it. Like I've no one knows what was going through his mind. I don't even know if he's made a statement about what he was thinking yet. It's just, everyone was just so disappointed. We thought we might win. And actually, if you go right before that last play, he did have a pass into the end zone. And I saw it, and it went right through our receiver's hands.
Oh, you're
we
right.
were inches away from winning that game.
Yep, I do remember this.
So this was his second chance, and then he ran it out. And you would have hoped he would have just, because he is so big and strong, man, just put your head down and just if you come up short, like the Tennessee Titans in the Super Bowl against the Rams, like that's fine. Put your head down, try to get in the end zone. Don't jog out of bounds. There's 3 seconds.
Yeah. Is he going to start this week versus Bama?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think we all know this is going to be a tough game for Tennessee. And do you want to put Hendon Hooker in there? Josh Heupel said he's day-to-day, so that means the injury is not as bad as it looked. But do you want to risk Hendon Hooker against that defense when you need him against Kentucky? That's the game Tennessee fans are really circling. That's the game we think that we can knock them off. We came up short against Ole Miss. Maybe we can get it done against Kentucky. So it's going to be for Heupel. It's going to be a balance. How many of your starters do you want to play? I mentioned we're razor thin. I mean, we had a walk-on starting in an offensive line. I mean, we just do not have the depth, and we can't be sacrificing any of our first team players because we need to win that game against Kentucky.
Man, JT, Ed doesn't know me very well, but he threw me like 4 softballs right there. I could have hit for home runs. He started talking about walk-offs and play. But I'm going to take it easy on our guest because we're going to want him to come back, and I know you got to work with him, and I don't want him talking about me behind my back, a little later on. But, I don't know. I thank you for your honesty and being able to talk about that. And I think you bring up some good things. And I think we all kind of forgot about that play that you mentioned before a little bit. I don't know if it was the play right before that when it went through those receivers' hands. And that could have been the game. That would have been.
He did have a great pass to get down to the 20-yard line or whatever it was. He spiked it. And so we had time for 2 plays. The one went through the wide receiver's hands. And then obviously he ran out of bounds. But I mentioned earlier, hopefully I can ask you guys a question because I think this is something that could impact Alabama being in the West. You have to play Ole Miss. These injuries, I think I looked up the stats. It was an injury from an Ole Miss player every 3 plays. I mean, do you think that this is something the SEC needs to look at? Because I think it was strategic from Lane Kiffin, allowed him to sub in players in and out, got extra timeouts. I mean, what do you think the SEC should do about that?
Interesting. Well, I guess I can go first for JT says something. Yeah, I think, I don't know how you monitor when guys are faking cramps and laying down and trying to slow the pace of the game. I don't know what you really can do. It's not like soccer or basketball, I guess, where you have flops and they throw penalties and this kind of stuff. I think that's kind of hard to do when you're working on a game like football. So do I think there probably was shenanigans out of Lane Kiffin and telling guys to lay down or whatever? Yeah, I wouldn't put that past them at all. But from a standpoint of how you keep people from doing that. That to me that becomes an integrity issues, and ads need to be talking to head coaches saying, "Come on, man,
Yeah.
let's not do that." Or are we
The only
that
good
lavish?
yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, the only good solution that I've heard is if you do go down and you need treatment from a trainer and they need to take you off, that you can't come back for that drive. You could come back in the game, but for the rest of that drive, you can't come back in the game. I thought that was a reasonable solution to this problem.
Yeah, I I understand it, but I don't know that I necessarily like it from a coach's perspective.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
that could be, I don't know, a running back who actually really gets hurt, and he just ain't his fault. He got hit in the shin or whatever, and now he's got to sit out 8 plays or whatever. That to me, that wouldn't be kosher. Where you at on this, JT?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I was going. I was like, if you really want to be punitive about it, then maybe you say you have to sit out more than one play. But then then immediately I followed that up with, well, yeah, what if you're actually hurt? So it is hard to legislate because in the essence of player safety, you can't play on. It's also not something what we do see in soccer where you can just play a man down for a little bit and everything's okay. They can run back on, or you just keep playing until there's a stoppage, and then somebody looks back and is like, oh, he's really hurt. Just kick it out for a second. But maybe, and I don't know how often it's the same player that's doing it, but maybe you say, hey, look, if you go down 2 or 3 times, clearly something's wrong with you. Maybe you shouldn't be out here. And then you remove them for a certain amount of time. Because then then at least, if you're the NCAA or the conference, you can at least disguise and be like, look, it is still player safety because this guy keeps having issues on the field. So he's clearly not right. And you keep putting him back out there. So maybe he shouldn't be out there. I don't know.
I see y'all trying to create jobs. What you got? You got a question?
Yeah, we got a question from Craig Young. Craig Young's always here with us. What is your prediction for the game this weekend and the player of the game? John Broadus has already answered and said that he's got Alabama winning 51-17, which I think is also a lot of points.
Do they have the spread on that game yet?
I'm sure they do.
Know what that is?
I bet I can look it up.
We're favored 24.5. Over under 60-something points.
You guys are definitely covering that for sure.
24.5.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
With that. Well, if you're gonna have walk-ons playing and whatnot,
it's up to 25.
And our backup quarterback.
Up another point.
Yep, it's up another point.
Good Lord.
Which means if the total is 67, then if I can do quick math here, that means that they're saying that Alabama's going to win 42 to like 12 or something like that, or 42 to 14, 15 ish.
I think it'll still be more of where our Teaksters put it at 50 something to.
Michael Schill Jr. has a close
68.
game. He says Bama 33, Vols 24.
Who is this?
Michael Schill Jr.
Okay, Michael. I don't know. I guess he needs to explain that a little bit. I guess I don't want to hear how he came up with that.
Well, I get all my Joe Milton information from Ed.
Yeah.
And according to Ed, Joe Milton can throw the ball to the moon, but if you put him in front of the moon, he couldn't hit the moon.
He's so inaccurate. And he, came from Michigan, so we got him out of the transfer portal. High hopes. He was named the starter in the depth chart week 1. And 2 games in, we were like, no, he's not it. And Hendon Hooker, another transfer from Virginia Tech, came in. and he started picking it up. And he can move with his legs, and he's accurate. He can't throw 80 yards, but he's accurate. And we would much rather have that. I think the only way that this game could be close is if that same referee officials that were there at the Tennessee game, if they're at this game and they start giving us some calls, and letting us get away and misspotting the ball and everything like that. That's the only way. If we get some help from the officials, which it's Tennessee, that won't happen. But that's the only way this is close.
Well, it's a home game for Alabama, right? So
is it your homecoming?
I don't know. I guess you, as the alumnus, you should know that.
Well, I wasn't invited. I don't.
Probably not. It's probably the game before Auburn or whoever it is, whoever that cupcake is before Auburn is probably the.
That's right. Western Kentucky or somebody, right? I don't know who it is. I'm just one game at a time, man. One game at a time, and this is one that I haven't picked out my cigar yet, but I'll probably wait till.
Just glad I don't have to see Butch Jones with that darn cigar anymore. God, that ate at me so much. And if Pruitt goes back to Alabama and I see him with a cigar, I might be driving down to Tuscaloosa and smack that out. Jeremy Pruitt. I mean, if him and as much as Fulmer did for Tennessee, Fulmer hiring Pruitt has just completely decimated this program. What the two of them did with the McDonald's bags of cash and all the other shenanigans that were going on there. And Heupel's going to have to build it up. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I'm getting word from Craig Young and Chris Watkins that Ed is correct. It is homecoming. So I don't know. I feel like Tennessee would actually have a chance if we were playing in Tennessee, because clearly we're not a very good road team, especially in hostile environments right now. But it's not on the road. So
no.
That's true. Well, okay. So I know we spent a lot of time on them, but let's kind of flip it to Bama a little bit, and Ed, if you can jump in a little bit for us with that.
Sure.
Of course, we love the SEC and what's going on. Bama creeps his way back up into the top 4 because of the loss by Iowa.
Beat down.
I
said beat down.
What did you say?
It wasn't just a loss. They were getting beat up. They lost in every facet of that game.
Trash also thrown at that game, but people don't remember that. But just throwing that out there.
That's right. So Bama makes it back in. You got Georgia at 1, Bama at 4. JT and I have kind of talked about this off the scale, off the show
Glenn,
a little bit about.
One more thing. Glenn is telling Ed to chill. Glenn is an Iowa fan. He said, "Hey man, let it
go." I mean, facts. I'm just bringing facts.
How did they lose to Purdue or whoever it was?
Well, I'll give you the quick synopsis, and I'm sure Glenn will agree with me, so he's not going to get mad at me for saying that Iowa's offense stinks. Spencer Petras is not very good. Their defense is legit, but the way he was talking to me about letting it go, about Iowa getting beat down. My bad, Ed. But their offense isn't very good. They've been winning by turning the ball over and giving their offense short fields. And Purdue didn't turn the ball over and didn't give them short fields. So it was difficult for Iowa to score. So that's that in a nutshell.
Oh man, just this whole shakeup with the standings, though, man, it's going to be interesting to really see what the college football voter, the voters actually do once we get to the.
Is that November 4th that they come out?
Yeah, it's not that far away. It's such shakeups, right? And what's going to happen, and what I was going to was JT was talking about Cincy's strength of schedule or lack thereof. Can they stay in the top 4? They probably won't lose another game unless they get somebody hurt, the quarterback or running back or whatever. So they'll probably be there. Good for them, right? But I just don't know what's going to happen, man. I don't know if Bama, with the rest of the schedule, if we continue to climb up, I don't think they'll set a game. Not that they would do it intentionally, but I don't see them putting Bama versus Georgia in the first round of the playoffs. I think they would make Bama 2 or 3. If both teams end up getting in, I don't think they'd want to put them in there. But I don't know. I could be wrong.
For Alabama to get in, they'd likely have to beat Georgia in the SEC championship, right? If they lose that game, they're not getting in.
Yes,
I would believe that's true.
I would too. That would give them.
I think
2
that first
losses.
ranking is going to tell us everything that we need to know about what Cincinnati's chances are and the rest of the field, really. Because I mean, as you see, I don't think. And again, Glenn's in the chat, and I'm just going to end up seeming like I'm dogging Iowa. But I don't think anybody actually thought that Iowa was the second best team in the country. That's just the way the AP poll works. You beat a team, you go up. You lose a team, you go down. If people in front of you lose, you start moving up. And the committee does not have such stipulation. They don't have a preseason poll where they have to then adjust. Right. They have the benefit of waiting 8 weeks and saying, okay, yeah, they might have lost this game, but that was uncharacteristic of them, whatever. And I think Glenn is agreeing with me here. He says preseason rankings factor in way too much this early. And I agree. So I don't think the committee is beholden to that. It would not shock me if that first ranking comes out and Cincinnati's like at 6 instead, and you get Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Ohio State anyway. Everybody's gonna be all upset and mad. But Ed, what do you think? Do you think I'm far off on that? Do you think that's probably the way it's gonna go?
I just have I know a lot of people like the Cinderellas. I just have a problem putting Cincinnati in. I know they beat Notre Dame. I don't think Notre Dame's that great. For me, I look at, you talk about the eye test. Georgia, absolutely. Oklahoma, absolutely. And then you're looking for 2 other teams. Ohio State is in there. I think Alabama's in there. You also have to look at Michigan State's undefeated. Oklahoma State is undefeated. That's all going to change. But I think those are some teams you have to give a look at. I just don't know if I really am a Cincinnati believer right now.
I'm with you. Because SMU ain't up there either. Charlie Williams are like that. Charlie Williams are like that. But I don't know. Neither here nor there. Okay, another deal about this Bama stuff. JT, you want to kind of tell everybody about this little tweet? I don't even know how to say his name.
Well, before we get into that, let's let Ed go. Because I know Ed is not definitely not up to date on the inner tweets of Alabama players.
Right.
Well, I do have one question. Has Henry T has he learned how to cover a slant yet? Because when he was at Tennessee, we would get burned every game. So maybe that's how we can win. We're just going to throw a slant right at him every single play. Well, that's the only thing I know.
I think half of this show thinks that Henry T is not actually as good as we thought, and that's not me. I think the other one is the one that's always like who, because he probably don't know who Henry T is. He knows 10, and I think he thinks that 10 is always out of position. Am I accurate on that?
That is correct.
So
that is absolutely correct. Yes, absolutely. But I'm going to go ahead and wish you luck.
Thank you
to this game, and I do want to say we do appreciate you coming on doing this. Why don't you tell everybody about your podcast and how they can find you and things of that nature?
Absolutely. So completely switching gears. If you are into French football, Paris Saint-Germain with Kylian Mbappe, Neymar, Lionel Messi, if you ever heard of him, come over. I'm at PSG Talk on Twitter, and you can search PSG Talk on anywhere you get your podcast, and you'll find our podcast where James is so gracious to come on from time to time and talk soccer. So find me there, and also happy to talk SEC football anytime. So I hope you'll have me back on.
Sir. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
for sure.
I
We
do
enjoyed
appreciate
it.
that, and we did. And thank you for reminding me to call him James sometime. I call him JT all the time, and he's into James. So I don't know what's up with these people in 2 names, but whatever.
Hey, well, I mean, you're the one who gave me 2 names. That's on you, man.
You got 3.
That's true.
We ain't calling you Theo. So yeah, that's good. That's good. But
And,
yeah,
we do have a bet. So if Tennessee does pull this out, I think James, JT, you're gonna change your social media profiles to a power T. And if Alabama wins, I have to put the Scarlet A behind me. So we have a little bet going. We'll see what happens.
all right. I like that. I like that. All right. Well, thank you for your time, brother. We do
Thank you
appreciate
so much. Bye,
Yeah,
guys.
thanks.
it. Bye.
Well,
It's
all
pretty
right.
cool.
So we were going to talk about Ajayi Hall and his tweet, seemingly right after the game. That I should have grabbed the screenshot since everybody else was grabbing screenshots. Basically saying after the game that he was done, he quits. It was quickly deleted. It immediately reminded me of that guy from Ohio State that quit like mid game. I guess he threw his gloves into the stands and walked into the locker room and tweeted F Ohio State and he was out. But I guess so. My question, the reason I put it on the sheet was like, what do you do? Like if you're Coach Saban, what do you do? Like how do you handle this?
I think. Well, of course you're upset because two things come out. One of you don't want to be here while you're here, right? And I know I've heard Saban say that we want the people here that want to be here, kind of thing. But when you have people of value, I think he is of value. You try to find out what the frustrations are. And if it's really just playing time, I'm wondering what made him do that. Was it just because they keep Mechie and Johnson on the field the whole time, or as he thinks he's better than Holden and
Yeah, I think he
Bolden,
does.
right?
I think he does. Because and I've been. Well, let me put the poll question up. That's tangentially related, but we'll let people get on that. For those that are on Facebook, I've been looking at the receivers, and I've had those same questions. Like, hey, where's Hall at? Where's Javon Baker? Because Javon Baker played in what amounted to garbage time last year. But you see a lot of Trayshawn Holden. We're actually seeing less Slade Bolden than I thought we were going to see. We see a lot more two receiver, two tight end types. If you really consider Jaleel Billingsley a tight end, I don't know. I think he's not as big as Jimmy Graham, but as far as like, is he a receiver? Is he a tight end? Like, who actually knows? So from what I've seen, it's all playing time. And from what I've heard, the reason he's not getting playing time is not necessarily because he's not better than the other folks. It's because he doesn't know his playbook very well.
Well, yes. I was going to go into that we don't know what's really going on in practice. If he's running the wrong routes or doing his own thing, just ad-libbing, being an athlete, that don't get you on the field, So I would go more with what you're saying. Hey, if he don't know the playbook, he don't know what he's doing. Because, we run pretty good complex stuff at Bama, pro style type of thing, especially with a pro head coach coordinator now. He could be that. But what do you do now? I don't. Can you get in the portal like?
I think you can. I
Right
think you
now?
just have to go to compliance and do it. We got a couple comments. Craig Young says he believes he isn't doing well off the field, and that's why he gets no playing time. And John Broaddus says, I respect the starters, and Hall is a very talented freshman, but his attitude's messed up. And if you don't know your plays, how are you going to know what to do? Which I think kind of, in a way, echoes kind of where we're at. Like if you I don't know. I'm not at practice. But yeah, you can't play if you don't know what route you're supposed to be running or what checks or anything like that. No matter how talented you are, you're still running.
Or who you're supposed to block.
Yeah.
For that reason, you might not be blocking. There's all kind of factors
I'd
in
be
that.
willing to bet that's probably what it is. I mean, I know that's why Jaleel Billingsley was in the doghouse for a while, is because, he was a receiver and they got him at tight end and he was seemingly unwilling to block. And that's why Saban was like, well, he knows what he needs to be doing and he's not doing it. So he's not playing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's, you hate to hear this about folks, and I'm accepting the transporter more than I like to be. I just kind of hate that it gets to the point, and this is, I think, a generational difference. I don't know. You can help me with that. That you get so mad like that you get after the game and then you go pop off this tweet or whatnot, and not go speak to whoever, strength coach, position coach, someone on the team. Maybe before you even go into the head coach, to say, "Hey, man, I'm not happy with this. I got to do something different. I want to leave. How do I get on the field?" I think we're just kind of losing sight of that now. Just like you said, to be in the middle of a game and just say, "I'm out. I quit. I'm gonna throw my gloves, up and just head into the locker room." I mean, what do you expect? How do you come back into the locker room? What do their players say? What do your teammates say? Not just the coaches, but you kind of just saying, "Okay, I'm out." And so I think it just causes problems. I don't know how you can come back from that unless you're going to say, "I'm sorry, I was, overreacting." But I don't know, man. I just think we've seen enough, right, of things that you got to do with these. If you got to pull the tweet down, it was wrong, right? Or at least someone told you it was wrong. I don't know. So I guess we'll just have to follow that. I hadn't followed up anymore. I don't know what actually happened, if he's been at practice or what's going
not sure.
on. But
I'm not sure. I'm sure they'll try to keep that under wraps. Clara is asking, do you think that would affect him in the draft? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no, because there have been a lot of worse things that people have done that don't quite amount to this, that still get you drafted. So, and he's a freshman. So, if 4 years from now, if he's balling out, that deleted tweet ain't really going to matter. I mean, Jameis Winston can steal crab legs and still get drafted pretty high. So I don't understand why you can't you can't send a tweet and that says you quit, delete it real quick, and have that haunt you 4 years later if you're actually good enough.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you did that to try to make a tease on Louisiana. Since you're talking about Jameis Winston, what about Ed, man? Orgeron, is that how you say his name? Orgeron.
Yeah. So I called myself being punny today, since you like your puns. In the description of the video, I said, we're talking about Coach O, and O stands for out. So Coach Orgeron has been in negotiations to leave LSU at the end of the season. They're not going to fire him, but they've already told him that they're just going to buy him out of his contract and he can go on his merry way. Which is kind of shocking, kind of not shocking. I don't know. I keep flip-flopping on, like, did I expect
why not buy him out now?
Yeah, see, that's what I don't understand. That's what I don't understand. Because as we were talking, I truly don't understand how they can recruit. And I know we had talked about this with, like, Clay Helton, how they fired him early, and you're like, well, how are they going to recruit if they don't have a coach and they got an interim coach? And I was like, well, at least, the guy can try and he can say, hey, look, the plan is for me to stay here and we can still do X, Y, and Z. And I don't know on either side if Coach O even decides I'm still going to try to help the program recruit. Like, how do you do that? Because like, for sure that he's not going to be there at the end of the season. And then, too, if you're Coach O, it's like, how do you even, like, why bother? Why even bother trying to recruit and hold on to people that you've already got in the class?
So, JT, and those of you listening, why would you even announce this now if you're not going to let him go? Why not just let it roll out, let people – I mean, sure, maybe it's bad business because you're going to fire him or whatever, but at least you can let him work, do his thing, sell what he's going to sell him, and then right after the bowl game or whatever it
I
is.
have a conspiracy theory. Hear me out.
All right.
So the whole talk is about how LSU's new AD, he really likes those splash hires. And somebody that he really likes, and we can talk about who's on the list, but one of the guys that he really likes that he wants to try to poach is Jimbo Fisher.
Yep.
If you remember before when Jimbo Fisher was leaving Florida State, he was actually supposed to become the coach at LSU. And some things went down behind the scenes. It didn't work out. And Jimbo Fisher, from what I've heard, decided that he didn't like the way that it was going down at LSU, so he took the Texas A&M job. Now, what was it that he didn't like at LSU was that he felt like they were trying to fire the coach behind his back, which was Les Miles at the time. Everybody was like, well, they're going to get rid of Les Miles. And then they were like, no, we're not going to get rid of Les Miles. It's fine. It's fine. Meanwhile, they're talking to Jimbo Fisher and it's like, hey, by the way, we're going to get rid of Les Miles. You want to come be the coach? And then they got a negotiation. And at the end of it, he was like, look, I feel like you do it Les Miles dirty. If you're going to do it to Les Miles, you'll probably do it to me later if I'm not doing well. And he decided to go to Texas A&M. So all that to say, I feel like maybe they were saying, maybe he learned from this and was like, if we want to try to get Jimbo Fisher, maybe we should just go ahead and tell him that, look, Coach O's out. We've agreed to it, and we're going to buy him out. We're going to make sure he's good to go. No ill will between us. Jimbo, please come coach us now. I don't know if that's going to work, but that is my conspiracy theory on why maybe they announced it even after they just beat a Florida team that they had no business beating.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great point that you make up and some good context that you put that in. And, I think the only thing that I question about that is, when you start to look at who are they really going to hire, whatnot, can they get him? Do I think it's a better job? Do I think LSU is a better job than Texas A&M? I'm sure we'll get all kind of hate mail or something from this. Well, I'm saying yes. Mainly because from the recruiting standpoint, Texas A&M, you got a lot of people that you got to deal with here, and not just in our state. OU, you're fighting with them. You're fighting with Oklahoma State. You're fighting with whatever, everybody. You can go in Louisiana and basically lock it down, get everybody out of Louisiana. Then you cross over a couple states and steal some more people. But I just feel like you got a better chance. So maybe that's enticing to a Jimbo or someone else.
Interesting tidbit. Now that you had brought it up, and just reminded me. Yet LSU is in the coveted position, and where they're the only FBS. No, I'm sorry. They're the only Power 5 team in their state. So I think I saw somewhere like of the top 10 recruits of LSU usually gets 8 of them. And 2 of them go somewhere else, usually one of them in Alabama. But they have pretty much put a fence around Louisiana. They're going to get the kids out of New Orleans and Baton Rouge. They're going to go to LSU. And the other thing is, each of their last 3 coaches have won national championships. So as far as like a hiring pedigree and what you can do, I think if you're an aspiring coach, you can look back and maybe you don't like that, you win a championship and then 2 years later you might be out. But at the same time, that like your recruiting ground is fertile enough to where the last 3 guys did it. It didn't necessarily take a outstanding, this is the greatest coach ever to take him to the promised land. So I would think that, it is a pretty decent job to have, knowing the recruiting talents you have. You kind of don't have to work as hard in state, and seemingly everybody that works there at some point gets them a ring.
And how much money? I wonder what the buyout would be. Would it be for like a Jimbo or something? Because I know
I believe it's
gigantic.
I want to say that it's surprisingly low for like him having signed an extension. Let me just see if I can
I
pull
guess
it up
that
real quick.
they got enough money to go get him. I mean, just in the sense of they got money, to overpay someone. I guess if need be, if you're gonna have this kind of splash. While you're looking at that, I'm going to pose a question for you to think about too. Is what's the probability of Joe Brady and
Joe
his
Brady's
name?
not coming back.
A thing of him.
No,
You don't think so?
no.
Yeah,
From
they
what I've
leave
heard, Joe
Tyson.
Brady loads recruiting. Like that's why he took the first thing smoking back to the NFL.
In the league.
So Michael Schill says that me and you should go coach. Go to LSU to go coach. No thanks. I'm good.
Man, the way this world is with the coaching all that, and I love coaching. I say that I do love coaching, and I think there's still growth for me personally with all that kind of stuff. But man, you gotta have the right fit, the right job, the right head coach, the right everything, right, to take a job. I remember years ago I've had opportunities to be in the league or even in college. It wasn't the right time, whether it's about kids, family, this kind of stuff, or wanting to work for a certain person who probably can take you to another level. So um, I would definitely have to pick and choose, what that would look like.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of the coaches that are on the list don't seem, not that they're not capable coaches, they just don't seem like LSU head coaches. Like maybe James Franklin, and I guess Jimbo Fisher.
What is an LSU head coach? Because they all seem to be a little bit edgy.
Yes.
All, get a little.
I feel like you can't have a particularly soft-spoken head coach. So, people that, Dave Aranda, for one, their former defensive coordinator that is now the head coach at Baylor. They're saying that he's on the list, potentially coming back, especially what he's been able to do at Baylor in his second year. Especially seeing his first year was marred by COVID. And they're sitting pretty at 6-0 right now. But for him, I feel like he was good as a defensive coordinator there because he was able to kind of fade into the background. And at Baylor, he doesn't have to be he's the face of, he's the head coach and whatnot of Baylor, but he can run that more of a, I don't know, like a Bruce Arians at the Bucks, where he can kind of just, he's the coach, but he ain't the one that's always in your face all the time, giving the press conferences and whatnot. And I just don't feel like that's the personality that LSU really needs as a head coach. I feel like they need somebody a little more aggressive. Michael Schill says Herm Edwards as an out-of-the-box guess. I mean, I feel like Herm Edwards doesn't actually do anything at Arizona State. I think he's
if you want to face.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like he's definitely the ultimate delegator, much like Mike Singletary was at TCA.
Yeah, well, maybe they can go hire him.
Maybe so.
He fits that mold. Got some pro experience. But anyway, I don't know, man. I just think it's unfortunate, about Coach O, and it was very interesting. You did share some articles with me to read about it, and
Craig says they
the
need
rise and
somebody
the
they can
fall.
understand.
No one understands anybody out there. I don't speak French, and I guess you understand it because you were pretty.
No, I still
Are
didn't
you
understand what
are you
Coach O was
considered
saying.
fluent in French?
No,
or
not even a little bit. Not anymore. It's been a while.
So it'll be Something to watch. Only thing I say, I just think it's going to be a distraction for the rest of the year for the players and the teams because I don't, you know how the media is and how the
Mhm.
talk is and whatever happens, it's all going to come back to coach now. If they lose,
Oh,
you know, it's
we got a question from
whatever.
Clara that I missed. It's off of what we're talking about, but we are running low on time and we still got to hit the Cowboys. So, um, first, her question is, while you're talking about the NCAA, what are your opinions on Washington State coach Nick Rolovich? How does this affect the rest of their season? And would you do this? I'm a little confused on the would you do this part in the sense that Washington State didn't have a choice. They had a government mandate.
I'm going to go with I'm going to go with maybe she's saying, would you walk away from your job for not taking the shot?
Oh,
You know, if you're the highest paid person in the state. That seemed kind of weird to me. Anyway, side note that your football coach at Washington State was the highest paid employee in the state. Good
well,
Lord, that's
Alabama's he's the highest paid state employee.
yeah, but not Washington, not the University of
Oh,
Washington,
I see what you're
Washington
saying.
State.
Yeah, well,
Good gracious. Um, okay, so um, I guess no one's really asked about this, and I'll give my take on it. You know, this is the Teague's take moment. I guess when you're talking about vaccines and because it's hitting up with a lot of different things. NBA, um, coaches making decisions, players making decisions about whether or not they need to take this deal. Here, my take, JT, is and I know what all of our statuses are in our household and we've done. But it's all about a personal choice, right? That's what I believe. That's what I believe. I know people say mandates or whatnot, and if it's not something where to the point yet where the government is saying, hey, you have to take it because of whatever. You've had to take shots when you were younger to make sure you can go to school, get into college, blah, whatever else, right? At this point, it's not that way. And I think we are in a position to make our choice, study, as I've said, when I did the stuff with the NFL alumni and all that kind of stuff. Get informed information on whatever you think is right for you. Your age, how healthy you are, what your background is, how you've been affected in your family with things. All these things kind of come into play. Even if it's a safety for others. That's something that me and Consuela talked about. We got a grandchild, and we got other things, and we got to be worried about other people around us and all this kind of stuff. So we had, really have some tough discussions about how important or what we wanted to do when it comes to being vaccinated or not, right? Um, so when you get into a world like where players are having to choose now, okay, am I going to forfeit? We're not talking about a little bit of money. We're talking about a lot of money. Some people said, I'm going to do this for my family in that sense. I want to continue to play. I want to make $30 million or whatever. So I'm going to roll the dice and take this shot. Where others on the other side and this coach is like, I don't want to do it. I'll go past it. There's some of our staff that's not going to do it either. Um, that's their choice. How does it affect those players up there? Well, um, I don't think it'd be good if it's five coaches that had to leave. Can you hire somebody to come right in? It's just different when you lose your head coach. I don't know who the other four assistants were, if they were coordinators or just, I didn't who they actually lost. If they were position coaches, two position coaches where they don't have anybody there. So there could be some some trouble on the horizon for them there. But Clara, all I'm saying, and you're a Teagster, and I like you because you always come up with some good stuff, right? Even when you're doing well or not well in fantasy football. And I'm going to kick left here, but did you see the last pictures? I know you don't really watch Twitter and stuff like I do, but she put some pictures up. I don't know if this girl ever stays at home, man. She sent some more pictures from the Caribbean. She's gone. She ain't ever here, so she just sending us stuff from all over the place and keeping up with the news back at the back at the house. But anyway, my deal is, these people are making these decisions right now. They got the choice to be able to do that, and that's really why I am on it. I don't know if that was clear as mud to you, JT, or not, but I'm okay with choice for people at this point. All right, that's why I am. All right, so how much time we got left? About 5 minutes.
Technically none, but we still haven't talked about the Cowboys. So I feel that it's only right that we give some of the people what they came for, even if that means going over our allotted hour.
I'm good with that. So I guess there's one thing that I wanted to say about the Cowboys, and you can lead this in a different direction if you want, but my blood's been boiling a little bit, and it's not. I guess it's really more about McCarthy and not necessarily the way the team's playing and all that. I think that was a tremendous win. And let me start with this. I think it was a tremendous win. If showing that they could overcome playing up there against a Hall of Fame coach, who has just a brilliant football mind and all that kind of stuff. Overcoming whatever you want to say about officials and reffing and just, hiccups that they maybe put on themselves, penalties and different things like that. To be able to win that game, I think really elevated them to say that, hey, they can overcome some adversity. And that's what you need out of championship teams. They've had all the tests with that. We talked earlier about, maybe playing against teams that didn't have all their people and all this kind of stuff. But what they did in this game to win was outstanding. I was pulling my hair out at this grade that I got up here right now, and actually came only from this weekend in these games that we were watching. And so what I want to put to you, JT, is all we're hearing about is the greatness of Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn, and not a whole lot of talk about the head coach. Good talk. It's did he fall into something? I saw it on Stephen A. and all that stuff. Is he just getting lucky to fall into a position to where he can win? Well, I don't think that's fair, man. That if they were losing, I would be thinking they'd be blaming McCarthy right now and not blaming Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn. So, am I being sensitive, son, about the treatment that McCarthy's getting and not getting the praise for being 5-1 this year?
I'm torn on that. And the reason is because when they were losing, yes, there were some that were questioning McCarthy, but I mean, at least in my mind, everybody knew it was the defense and Mike Nolan. And where the criticism came from, at least from where I was sitting, the criticism that was coming for for Mike McCarthy was his hire of Mike Nolan, because Mike Nolan was his friend. And there was more so thinking that it was, I don't know, is nepotism the right word, even if it's not like family? But whatever, favoritism, whatever the word is, that he hired somebody that wasn't quite qualified. So I guess where I'm a little torn on this is I see sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I see Mike McCarthy like a Coach O. Not in the sense of like what he's doing, but in the sense of they had their best team ever in 2019. They weren't the best team ever before then. And they weren't the best team ever after then. What the difference was, the passing game coordinator and the defensive coordinator. They came in and things were revitalized. And then they left, and then LSU goes 5-5. And you're like, well, what happened? So I think the reason right now you're not seeing praise from McCarthy is because the defense was so bad last year. And the offense was, before Dak got hurt, the offense was still balling out, and the defense was not holding up their end of the bargain. You make a change to get rid of Mike Nolan, you bring in Dan Quinn, and boom, all of a sudden your team is 5-1 and not whatever the record was at this time, 2-3 or whatever. So it's easy to see where the improvements are coming from. It's easy to say Dak's back, so our offense looks like it's supposed to, and we have a new defense coordinator, and all of a sudden Diggs is a star. And as an outsider, it's hard to look and say, okay, what's the head coach's role in this, given that the problem was the defense, they switched the coordinator and the defense looks good now.
So do you think, is there not anything that you can, how much weight do you put into the management of people as a head coach in an organization? You know, now I'm thinking of that of being on the inside, of being up with the Vikings and with the Cowboys and seeing that daily grind that's being led by the head coaches.
Right.
So,
and I'm not privy to those things like you are. So I will say, as someone who's close to it in a sense, there is, like, I do put weight on that because there is a lot of things that have to happen behind the scenes, and I know a little bit of what goes on. I think for your average fan that doesn't really know how all those things get put together and how the schedules get made and what you have to do day in and day out, what you look at a lot of times is those coaches that they would say are good coaches happen to also be coordinators. You know, when you're talking about Andy Reid or Bruce Arians and things, it's easy to say, oh, I can see him particularly doing something because he is also the offensive coordinator. He's the one calling the plays. Sean McVay, I'll add him in there too. LaFleur up in, you know, all of those coaches, even the Jets, like, you know, he's the defense coordinator up there, and you know he has his hand in things. So I think it's harder for him to garnish some sort of appreciation when you just know from the fact that McCarthy is letting Kellen Moore do his thing, and it's hard to really try to figure out, like, what does he actually do day to day. And we see this all the time when, you know, people are asking, you know, they might ask married couples, like, who does the most around whatever. And it's like, you are very acutely aware of what you do because you can see it, and you're not particularly aware of what your spouse does because you don't see all the things that they do. And I think that kind of translates to where it's just like, I can see clearly what Kellen Moore is doing. I don't have insight into what McCarthy does as, you know, somebody who's just out there watching games.
So I want to give you a good and a bad, and try to give everyone a good and a bad. I'm saying good and a bad, but I don't know. Two different types of scenarios, right? From a head coaching standpoint, and I can speak from personal experience as a head coach, right? And as a defensive-minded coach, and not necessarily offense. Of course, I know insides and outs of offense, you know, the calls, the plays, and this kind of thing. But I was never really on the offensive side of the ball, hardly ever, you know, in my career. I knew about it. I had to hire me a good offensive coordinator to get us where we need to be. I had daily meetings, talk about schemes, what I liked, what I didn't like, and trying to make sure that they executed it to my liking, I guess, for the best part, right? So there's always some strategy there, even though I watched more film on defense, I watched more strategy, I talked to Coach Ferris, you know, more, and things of this nature. And so I think there's a certain amount of influence that you can put on your coordinators without necessarily having to call the plays, right? So I will give Kellen Moore a big piece that, hey, you know, he's probably making the call, doing the stuff, all the props that you're talking about. You can see that from the coordinator, But Mike still has to put the plan together. Hey, what are we going to do in 2 minutes? What about when it's on this hash? What is this kind of stuff? Let's make sure we practice on that. These are the little small things that they go into of every little instance, right? And then that brings me to the bad part, right? A lot of we're hearing about clock management. Do you go for it or not? Should you kick it? Do you go for it on fourth down? And this kind of thing. And then sometimes I think we got to have people on our staff that can help us through those situations, right? So I'm going to take this back to me and you, right? I feel like I'm a pretty damn good coach. I know when to call certain plays or put ourselves in situations to win games and whatnot. But in this past year, you actually came to me and said, hey, I might be able to help you with something that I wasn't really good at. When do you go for two? When do you punt it? Having someone there to say, oh, this is probably what you should do. Maybe not be what you feel, but this is what you should do. I don't know if he's getting that part yet. So that's my bad, when I'm watching this. Should he know it? He's a head football coach. Do they use analytics or whatever? I don't know. We never got to that part about what they do with analytics, and I think they make some bad choices. I will go with that. But so do I think there's some improvements that can be made? Sure, absolutely. I mean, we can't deny that. But I think it's a little bit more difficult than what people say other than just, well, he ain't running the show. He ain't doing this, because that would be far from the truth in my mind. Are there some things, some people that he needs to have trusted around him? Sure. So that's where I'm at on the deal.
I agree. I think how he will start getting praise is sustained success through coordinators. I guess I'll say that way, just to the average viewer. I think when you can lose your offense coordinator and or defense coordinator, and you're still continuing that, I think that's when people start to say, okay, he's the constant here. You gotta, it's like
So
when
what's
Tom
the
Brady
chances?
leaves. Oh, what?
No, you go ahead. I was about to say, what's the chances of, because this very well could happen, right? Kellen Moore. What happens if he leaves this year? I think that's kind of where you're going, right? Who's he bring in, or does he start
Yeah, I
calling the
mean, because
plays, or
he's
is he
gonna
bringing
be
someone else?
judged on his hires. Who does he either bring in, or does he start calling the plays himself? And I promise you, if Kellen Moore leaves and McCarthy starts calling the plays, and that offense doesn't look as explosive, like, he's gonna get a whole lot. Is gonna get a whole lot more. Because then it's gonna be like, what actually were you doing? How much were you involved in the offense? Did you, those will be the talking points after that. If they don't have some kind of sustained success, if they turn into a Jason Garrett type offense, then people are going to be a little bit upset about that.
Yeah. So does Kellen Moore become the highest paid offensive coordinator in the league? I don't know what it is, but I'm just thinking about how Jerry is and not wanting to lose him. You think they'll overpay him?
I think they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that Kellen Moore doesn't become a head coach somewhere else.
Set him up kind of like how they did Jason Garrett. Hey, you're the next guy in line.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
The head coaching job with the Cowboys.
Because I think that Jerry's probably terrified of losing another Sean Payton to a team that ends up not being very good, and then they go win a Super Bowl, and you're like, oh man, we could have kept the offensive coordinator, and maybe that could have been us instead. So I wonder if push comes to shove and Kellen says, look, I'm going to be a head coach somewhere. It's either going to be here or it's going to be somewhere else. What are they going to do? Are they going to try to move McCarthy to something else, or are they going to have to let Kellen just go? That's a conversation that I am glad I don't have to be a part of.
Yeah, that's true. That would be difficult. That would be difficult. Well, all I know is the Cowboys are for real, offensively and defensively. Special teams too, right? For the most part, I think we're in a good position. I'm. I do have to monitor this Dak injury. I know
He's
they're
fine.
making light of it, but calf muscles ain't really no kind of thing necessary to mess with, right?
He's fine, and
Um,
the reason I say he's fine is because he has to be. There's no option. We've seen what the offense is without him, with all of our mini quarterbacks, and I don't think any of them are as good
you,
as Andy Dalton was, and I don't think Andy Dalton was very good. So
are you trying to say they're shooting up that calf muscle right about now
oh
every
yeah,
day?
they're doing whatever they need to do.
I don't remember which boot did he have on. It was the right foot. We're going to come back and his right calf muscle is just going to be like huge, all, all muscular and everything else down there. I don't know. It would be detrimental to losing for even one game. So they
The
get the
bye
bye
week's so
week.
close. It's so close. It's right here.
Yeah,
They'll be.
yeah.
He's
Well,
got
it's
time.
here.
He's got time.
He's got it now. Um, I guess it comes at a good time for him and some others. Jerry talked about that on 105.3 The Fan today, saying, hey, it kind of, you know, depending on when it is and what year it is, you want your bye week to be earlier or later. But, in this case, he thought it was kind of okay because it was a time for her to get some of these guys. It buys you another week to try to get some players back, healthy or healthier, and things of that nature. So I think that's good. It will be interesting to see how they handle themselves on the road up in Minnesota when they come back. I think they have the Vikings out the break up there on a Sunday night, Halloween night.
Yeah.
Matter of fact.
Last one because I was gonna.
Um,
I thought about bringing it up, and then I decided, nah, we're over time. We won't bring it up. But Clara and I seem to be on the same wavelength right now. But Devontae KZ, I don't know if did you see? He was arrested for a DWI this morning.
When?
This morning, about 3 a.m.
Uh-oh.
today. She says, so disappointing. Yes, I agree. This was the first thing. Well, I guess this was the second thing that I was like, oh, of course, here we go. Cowboys doing Cowboys things. First La'el Collins, and then now you got your starting safety getting a misdemeanor on the bye week. Like, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Clara says he's been released.
They cut him? Like released from jail or like released from the Cowboys?
I'm hoping it was released today, like released from jail, because I didn't get nothing saying that he was released from. Okay, she says from jail. Okay, I was like, hold on, what do you mean? There we go. Okay, yeah, you gotta give us all the context when you'll be writing the comments. Now, you released in the context of the NFL is not something that you particularly want to hear. Yeah, I had to pull out the phone and be like, wait, what's happening with so.
Well, I don't know what that means or what the league will do about that. I really don't know the whole history of people getting DUIs, if there's any kind of suspension or something that comes with that. I don't know. I mean, it's conduct detrimental to the team. I guess you can get a fine or something. But will that affect him on the playing field? All I know is he should have made that damn tackle on the one that Trayvon Diggs got.
on that double move that Trayvon was loafing. Not that it was his fault, but I mean, you could tell that he was not giving full effort on the back end of that route.
Dude, he was tired, man. He just doggone intercepted all that energy he had to do, all the celebrations. And I don't know if he's on the kickoff team or not, but he had to get right back out there.
I understand.
They went right at him.
I'm just saying it wasn't a good look. That's all I'm saying.
He undercut it. He undercut the ball. He shouldn't have undercut it like that. He wasn't in bad position. He decided to go undercut and try to get him a pick again. And then he looked because he had the safety help in there. He pulled a Dion. Hey, I'm going underneath, and I'm going to get it. And then I think Kazi, I know people saying, "Oh, what is he doing?" I don't know. I gave him benefit of the doubt. I was
The
like, he didn't
whole
want to
thing
get
just
no
looked
penalty.
awkward to me. The whole thing, because
I think he was
Diggs went
avoiding
underneath.
the
You're
penalty.
right, and I felt like he knew KZ was there, and then KZ didn't get it because I think he was looking at Diggs like, "What are you doing?" And then after the ball went over Diggs' head, Diggs turned to KZ and is like, "What are you doing?" And then they're walking into the end zone. So, but I'll give Mac Jones his credit on that one. That was a good ball. It was ballsy, I guess. I wouldn't have thrown it back over there, but hey, maybe that's a sign of more to come from him. Especially thinking at the time that I thought, he knew that he had just thrown what was possibly the game-losing interception, pick six, and then, called and then throws that ball. Like, oh, the Patriots are not about to give up yet.
Okay, so last thing, I don't know how much, I know we're over by a long ways, but a lot of talking points about this game too, right? So this will be my last topic because I know people want to hear. How do you feel about the very first 4th-and-1 call from the 30-yard line? I don't know if you remember that or not. Early, first
minus
series,
30,
maybe
plus
second
30.
series, minus 30. You're on in. It's 4th-and-1. It's 4th-and-half an inch, or 4th-and-half a yard. You got Zeke, and it was 3rd-and-short at first. You tried to run the play, you don't get it. 4th-and-short, they decide to go. Don't make it. Next play, they run the ball.
They
in for
gashed
touchdown.
us.
Comes 7. So you and your analytical brain and all that kind of stuff. So I'm hearing other things. Well, that's our mantra. That's what we do. We go forward on 4th. We're setting the tempo. We got to be. I just think that you have to put it in there. It's early in the game. You're backed up. You're giving them a short field if you don't make it. So I'm hearing a lot of people say, "Man, you got to go for it." I like that call. If you lose by 7, then it's not such a great call, I guess, right? So hindsight 50-50.
2020.
I would have punted the ball.
Don't do the Cam Newton. Hindsight is 2020, not 50-50.
2020. My bad. 2020. 2020. I don't know. So good catch on that. Fixing my mistake there. Because I need some glasses anyway. I don't have 2020 no more. It's probably more like 2050. Anyhow, I don't know. What do you do, man? You're the head coach. First drive out, you're on your own 30. You got Zeke. You got these linemen. You going forward or you punting it?
Just the short answer, quick, is punt. Minus if you're inside your own 30, or if you're inside your own 40, I should say, punt it. The reason, without getting into the analytics yet, because I did look up like what the analytics say on when you go forward on 4th down, depending on where you are on the field. Just intuitively to me, without even thinking about the analytics, you go for it on 4th down that close, that far on your own half of the field if you are a severe underdog and you think the other team is better than you. I don't think either one of those were true. So when Ole Miss is doing it, I'm like, yo, that's if you gotta do it if you're gonna try to come in and beat Alabama. That's just what you got to do if you think every possession counts. With the Cowboys in this case, I was not under the impression that was a go for it situation. It's a go for it situation if you think the game is about to get out of hand. Even if you think that you're the better team, if you feel like the game is slipping away from you, then yeah, I can say, hey, look, you got to be aggressive here. It's a yard. We got to get a yard and just get a little bit of a spark. So no, that wouldn't have been a go for it situation. But in my notes for the analytics breakdown, this is only for if the game is within one possession. The time to go for it, if you're on your own half of the field, is only if you are beyond the 40. If you're on your own 40 to 49 and it's 4th and 1 or less, the analytics say, then it's time to go for it. But if it's 4th and 2, no. 4th and 1, minus 40 to minus 49, then you go. If you're on the minus 30, basically they're saying, like, if it's a one possession game, for the most part, time, we're throwing time out. If you're on your minus 30, there is absolutely no reason to go for it. Is basically what the analytics are saying. So that's where I am on it, especially that early.
I appreciate it too. I was like, punt it. I got it. I was like, ooh, we can get it. We're at a half yard or whatever. I'm like, man, coach, punt the ball. Come punt the ball. He didn't. And then later it comes up, and then you kick it, probably more of what you're saying with the analytics. Maybe they should have went for it when they kicked the field goal and missed it. So
yeah, when was that?
Was like, see, that's why you got to go for it.
Yeah, that was, what was that, a 30-something yard kick?
Quarter. No. It was, I thought it was like a 51-yarder or something.
Okay, so if it's
I
51,
could be wrong on that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's about right. So if it's a 51-yarder, that means the ball would have been the 44. Yeah, the line of scrimmage would have been the 44-yard line.
No, 34.
34-yard line. Yes, you're right. Yeah, so I'm glad this is a great situation, because when I was looking at the analytics, this is the one that actually blew my mind. It says that if it's 4th and 6 or less, now 4th and 6 is a long way to me. 4th and 6 or less, you go for it if you're inside your opponent's 40 to 31. So the analytics are saying in that case, when he kicked the field goal, that was the time to actually go for it. Would have been a one possession game. You're inside your opponent's 40, and it's 4th and 6 or better. Go for it. And I was like, oh, 4th and 6, that's kind of long, but
it don't have anything to do with the score though. If you only down
one
by
possession.
3,
If it's a one possession game. So I gotta look again. I don't know if it's 3 or not, but I'd imagine, if it's one possession, it's saying you're more likely to convert a 4th and 6 than to kick a 51-yard field goal. And I guess in that specific example, maybe that's accurate. I don't know.
Well, I guess, and I think I saw something like that with the Buffalo Bills game. So it's 4th and 1 from the 1.5, 4th and 1 from the 3, slips, he doesn't get it. They lose the game because he doesn't kick the field goal. So
well,
all these
where I stand on that anyway. Just as a matter of pride, if it's 4th and goal and you're at the 2, if you can't get 6 feet,
the Bills don't have no running back like that.
Man,
they had to run the quarterback.
I say you don't deserve to win if you can't get 6 feet. You can't get 6 feet from the
maybe
goal
we'll
line.
Talk about this next time. Put this on the docket. Now I'll see if we can find it. Maybe you can get out to all 22. But I did want to talk about that, and it'll be good. I think it's good information for people that know football about the art of running a quarterback sneak. I think they ran that play wrong. He ran it wrong twice. That's why he didn't get it either time. Talking about Josh Allen. Missed it both times. And it was very evident when I was looking at the way they lined up. He went left both times. He should have went to the right. We'll find those pictures. Maybe we'll be able to put that up and talk through that if we can find it. He did miss it twice. And they lined up the same way, and they stuffed him twice. Same dude. I'm like, why do they keep doing that? He just needs to go the other way. But anyway, so I think that's it, man.
Yeah,
Let's get out of here. It's
you
been
got an hour and a
I
half.
know we
You
kept
got 90
guys.
minutes of content from us today. Hi, Justin Riley, popping in late saying that the Bills should be playing T.J. Yeldon. Maybe, I don't know.
Man, he tripping. We're gonna let Josh Allen throw the ball around. That's what we're gonna let him do because I got Diggs in one of my leagues and I need him to catch the ball. And I got Emmanuel Sanders. I think I beat you with Emmanuel Sanders and
You did, but beating me
Stephon Diggs.
in the street team league ain't no accomplishment. That's like beating up on the Jags.
Oh,
Like, okay,
dude, you're hurt, man. Your team, all your people hurt. Everybody you got hurt.
well, I had a trade from somebody, and I was going to make the trade, but I wanted to wait a week because, well, one, they were trying to trade me. They wanted Justin Jefferson, which is like basically the only person on my team that scores. And they were going to give me back like a hurt Steve Slayton and a running back, or the Chiefs' new running back, Williams, whoever it is.
I can't do that.
So what I wanted, I was going to do it. I was going to give up Justin Jefferson for a back, but I wanted Cordarrelle Patterson instead, because Patterson is basically the Atlanta offense, but he was on a bye week. And I was like, okay, I don't want to make this trade right now because then I'm gonna have a backup running back and a receiver that can't play. So like, can we just wait a week? And then he pulled his trade offer back. So whatever, I'll just keep taking the L's. It's fine.
I'm gonna see what I got. I think I probably got some people for you trade. You fall down. Your mama ain't happy. She said the Teagues ain't representing in the Teague street team thing. That she's still sitting at 1, I guess. And I think I made my way up to 5 or something. So anyway, it was a great show, man. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening. I know that, make sure you guys download this stuff. Send it over to all your peeps. Let them know about Teague's Tech. Have them come see us on Tuesday night. We appreciate everybody being in the chat. You guys are real Teagsters. We appreciate it more than you know. So make sure you come back again next week. I do want to remind everybody, I said it last week, we were going to have Derek Deese on, the guy that tried to knock me out when I hit Terrell Owens. We've actually pushed that back. He'll be on with us in November, early November. So make sure you set your reminders for that, because we need to hear what he was thinking about when he was trying to decleat me out on the star, or I guess just past the star when I was standing there. And I olayed him a little bit. It will be kind of interesting to hear that. So thanks again for everybody for all your support, being out here, hanging out with the Teagues for about 90 minutes. This has been another episode of Teague's Take. We'll see you guys next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central Time. We out.